I'll save this one. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Pat Garcia, and I'm representing Pat Knows Homes. Uh, and I'm here today with a lender, a local lender, which is Maria Di Stefano, and she's with Arcade Capital. If I botched that up, I apologize, but you're here today so we can discuss new investors and the questions that they have and how you help them out by, qualifying them. And they have three most important questions, I guess, that you guys receive on a regular basis. And so we want to get a little more of your input on how do you handle those customers or investors, clients, and be able to have a discussion on how we can help them get funded. So if you can give us a little background about yourself and what exactly, like an intro on what it is that you do and the position as an account rep with your company, Maria.
Yeah, absolutely. So I specialize in building relationships with my clients. The goal is to provide as much value and knowledge to my clients or investors to set them up so that they're in the best position to be able to build their business and grow their companies. So I work with my investors hand in hand and provide any information. I am available 24/7 for them. And that's pretty much my goal, is to help them and achieve their goals.
Awesome, awesome. So if I was a new investor coming to you, one of the major questions that I know that I would have, and we discussed this previously, is what are some of the rates and fees that goes along as a new investor? What are those looking like?
So for an investor who's focused on fix and flip or bridge loans, we have it basically in different tiers on their experience level. For bridge loans, it's more so based off experience. So a typical bridge loan is a 12-month term. The minimum loan amount is $100,000, which is a combination of the purchase price and the renovations costs.
Okay.
All right. Credit score has to be 600 plus in order for us to proceed. We would do a credit background check with our investors to get them approved in the system. Once they're approved, we can provide a proof of funds as well to them.
Awesome.
Yeah. We do lend nationwide as well, with the exception of Minnesota, North Dakota, and Nevada. Those three states we're unable to lend in because of their state laws. So for a beginner investor, which we consider someone that only has completed 0 to 3 projects previously, we would cover 80% of the purchase price. So they would have to come to closing with 20% down. And then we cover 100% of the renovation costs, which is based upon a draw process. And for a beginner investor, the rates are around 10.95% on the interest only loan. And there's a 2% origination fee with that, as well as a $795 processing fee. Now, once they complete 3 deals, then they will move up into the next category, where they would only have to come to the table with 10% down, and their interest rate drops to an 8.95%. So that's the goal, to work your way up to getting better terms with us.
Awesome. So a brand new person who's looking at, beginning and just jumping in, you guys would normally walk them through exactly what they would need. And the more or less the qualifications is that 20%, 2080 that they would have to bring to the table, and you guys would just help them out with the 80. And as you mentioned, the 100% is the rehab.
Correct. Yes.
So are they coming with a team of people for that, or are you helping or assisting them when it comes to the actual renovation stuff as well, or is that something you can direct them with?
Yeah, typically most investors already have their general contractor that they work with, or they may get some bids. So they already have an idea of what the renovation costs will be. We do require a scope of work when we're in our processing phase. So they would have to prepare the scope of work on an Excel file for us to review and approve. The renovations are based upon a draw process, as I mentioned. So when the loan is funded, the renovations monies goes into an escrow account, and then they would have to request a draw once some of the renovations are completed. But that piece is on them, their decisions to make. We don't require any receipts for any materials or labor costs or anything like that. It's an inspector will come out and verify that the work was completed.
Awesome. So that obviously makes sense because there's a lot of details, I guess, goes into that scope of work. So you want each tier to have a draw, as you mentioned. Break down that a little more for us when it comes to the draw. Is it like 3 tiers? Or like how does that process in particular work?
Well, there's no limit on how many draws you can request. However, you
Mhm.
want to keep it to a minimum because there is a fee every time you request a draw
Oh,
for the inspector to come out and then for the monies to be transferred over.
okay. So if it's a project that you're looking at, like let's say if it's 6 months, you're probably looking at 2 draws in there at some point, the beginning inspection that they're doing the work, and then the closeout of it. Is that
Correct.
logical to say?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. Mhm.
perfect. So that definitely helps. The other question that we hear a lot about is that origination terms. Um, and how exactly do you guys more or less break that down for us to understand what exactly is that origination terms that you mentioned?
So the origination fee is it's a cost on the total loan amount, and that's basically for us to originate, review, and process the loan. So that fee does depend on the amount of the loan.
Okay.
And then for our repeat or experienced investors, that fee is negotiable. Generally it's 2 points, but we can maybe do 1.75, or we have different perks for our repeat customers after they close a few deals with us that we can offer down the road.
Okay. Which absolutely I'm sure is beneficial. And you
Mhm.
said it does go with the amount that's being loaned as well.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. But it's definitely negotiable, which is good. And the other third questions that we have is what is the minimum or maximum loan amount that you guys can give to a new investor?
So our minimum is the 100,000, and maximum is 2 million. So it's based upon the project that the investor is working on as well. And of course, the approvals that we can get in the system after, doing our due diligence.
So you mentioned the idea of the first time investor, you're looking at a 600 credit score. Um, exactly like how far, because I know some people are not able to do the investing because their credit is not perfect. But in a perfect world, to get a really good rate, so it's still 20%, we're still talking about 20% as a newbie. But
Mhm.
if they had like a 750 credit score, would that be beneficial on their part eventually to negotiate?
Yeah, well, for the bridge loans, it's just based off those tiers. However, if they were looking to do a long-term rental, then that's when the credit score is looked at, a
Mhm,
little bit more heavily. So depending on what their FICO score is at that point is, the percentage that we would cover.
mhm.
So let's say, for instance, someone with a 760 plus FICO, that investor, we can probably do like maybe an 80% cash out refinance for them. So maybe somebody with a 680 is looking at a 70% cash out refinance. So that's when there's different tiers for FICO and what percentages you can get on your loan to value.
Can you break down a little more about when you mentioned the cash out refi, like what exactly is the terms for that? And if you can give a definition, a breakdown.
Yeah, so that is, we do have a 30-year, or we have a 40-year option as well that that's a newer product that we're offering. The loan amount there is also 100K to 2 million
Mhm.
as well. And that starts at a 620 FICO. So, and again, the tiers, the better the FICO, the more loan to value you will get on your property or deal.
Perfect. Well, that definitely is helpful. I hope that this was beneficial to a newbie. I always encourage questions. Is there any other thing that you want to mention? Because I know we've gone back and forth with, mentioning other people's money and, as a new investor, how much of that plays a part. So if you can give us any more of your thoughts and anything that you think is beneficial for the newbie.
Yeah, I mean, so ARCAD offers what's called a quick quote form, where the investor would go in and enter in the deal specifics, and we can then generate a term sheet for them. So that way they would have a better idea on their terms, because there is liquidity requirements as well. So, not only do you need your down payment, there's closing costs, and then there's liquidity requirements. And that's basically just extra monies that gives us the security to, be able to fund the deal for the investors. So I think that's important to know also. And there's, other fees, third-party fees that the investors are responsible for, such as the appraisal fees and their legal fees. So that's something else that is good to keep in mind.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and all of your input. I know we will have another discussion with some other questions that the investors have in the near future. I appreciate you and all that you do. And everyone, as I stated, Maria DiStefano with Arcade Capital. Thank you so much for
Thanks for having me,
your time.
Pat.
You're welcome.
It's a
Have a good
pleasure.
one.
All right, you too.